Everyone, welcome to the Shack and Move Show. Tupac once said, "We got money for war, but can't feed the poor." Today, we're talking about the government shutdown and the impacts that are happening across our country. So Kobe, it's crazy right now, right?
Yes, sir.
We got these daggone government shutdowns that are going on. People are stressed. People are trying to figure it out. Impacts are happening everywhere. It's not just in Washington, D.C., right? It is literally happening all across the country. Brother, what are you seeing?
Brother, I'm seeing, as you just said, people are suffering, right? So you got in Prince George's County, we have a lot of folks who've been impacted by the shutdowns, but also by, was it Doge or Doggy? How you pronounce that? The doggy was attacking folks. Think about when you got a dog attacking you. Doggy, a little doggy. The little doggy attacking this agency. The doggy attacking this agency. You got an unelected billionaire. I mean, I didn't let you, musky man. I want your musk near my government. I'm glad musky man is gone. But who wanted that? You want elected. So you think about, I'm gonna jump around a little bit this. You think about Citizens United giving corporations the power that led to Elon Musk and his doggy unit roofing at people, and starting that nonsense. But what do you think about? I mean, so you got the shutdowns, but what about the impacts of the Doge or doggy, man?
I mean, we done saw so many folks who did work. They took that oath, right, to protect the country. And
Yes,
you saw
sir.
these individuals come in who have never given anything to our country and just eliminating people's jobs. We saw them eliminate the Office of Environmental Justice, right?
Yes,
Folks who
sir.
are actually out there trying to help our most vulnerable communities to have the resources that they need to be able to have access to the federal government, to be able to move the dynamics inside of their communities. You got all these slashes that are going on in these health agencies. You got attacks going on science, something you and I care a lot about because we know how important it is. You've got all these different types of things. You got cuts happening to housing and the individuals who've been working on that for decades. You got the Department of Education. I don't even go call it the Department of Education anymore because they don't want anybody to be educated.
They want you to be dumb. It's the Make America Dumb Again administration. Was it MAGA? Call it MATA. And so, yeah, so think about FEMA. You got all these disasters. It cutting FEMA. You got NOAA. Y'all know NOAA. You got people forecasting these climate events. How you gonna forecast when nobody's in the room? Think about if you turn on the weather channel, there's nobody there. You turn on your local news, it's about the weather report. It is like they want y'all to be. How are you supposed to know what's happening in community comes to weather when they cut it, right? When they cutting the jobs and then they have to hire people back. And then you cutting Health and Human Services. Health and Human Services does a lot to make sure your food is safe,
Mhm.
right? Doing inspections. Oh, we don't need inspectors. That's to send the food on to the grocery store. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and I ate some food from a place. I gonna name the place, and I tasted a little bit of rot, and I got a little bit of bubble gut, right? Let's take that GI illness that I received. Think about we don't have food inspectors inspecting our food, and a number of people can get sick, and how the impacts the most vulnerable are children and elderly, man. Go ahead, man. That makes no sense to me.
So you telling me that if you about to have some chicken, or you about to have some pork, or you try about to have some beef, if we don't have those FDA inspectors out there, we don't have the individuals on the job, then you might end up getting bubble gut again.
You may get food poisoning. I'm let the audience know, the folks out there. I'm a chicketarian. I eat chicken all kinds of ways. Yeah, I think I ate some chicken, and the chicken may be a little bit of rot. I got bubble gut. I ain't gonna get into what all that happened after bubble gut. But to be serious, y'all, yes, not having food inspections is important. We can have foodborne illness outbreaks. Y'all know about E. coli. You know about salmonella. Y'all don't want no salmonella in your gut, man. Go ahead.
No, I feel you on that. I mean, we're laughing, but it's so incredibly serious in this moment. We got millions of folks right now who have been laid off.
Yep.
We got daggone folks working in the aviation space, right? Folks who have a responsibility to keep you safe when those airplanes are flying, but yet they're not getting paid. And folks going out and have to get second jobs and have to think about if they can pay their mortgage. Can they send their kids to school? Can they even put any food on the table? And we've got these dynamics that are playing out right before our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, recently in Houston, they had to shut down the airspace, right?
Mhm.
Because you have air traffic controllers who, like you said, not being paid. Think about that, y'all. you not being paid, and and the stress that you're under, and those folks having the focus and ability to keep your plane in the air. This is a dangerous time in our country because of the illiterate person who's in the office of the White House, holding the seat of the president, because he's on his white male, I'm gonna say it, he's on this white male grievance tour. You hurt my feelings, you made me angry, right? I'm gonna take vengeance on you. So I'm gonna cut this agency, I'm gonna cut this agency, or I'm gonna send troops. Let's talk about that, brother, man.
Mhm.
I'm gonna send troops to your city because you a blue city and blue cities vote against me and you wrong me. So I'm gonna attack your citizenry. I'm gonna cap your people. I'm gonna cut your budgets, and then I'm gonna attack you with your own fellow neighbors who are part of the military. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's messed up. We remember when they came to DC, right? That was the test case, if you
Yep.
will, and brought National Guard into that space and other federal law enforcement talking about they were doing it because of crime. But even though crime was going down, that's what the statistics said.
Exactly.
So there was no need. So again, they're using your tax dollars
Yep.
to just do all these different types of things without any real reason behind it, except what you just shared.
Yeah, no, he's mad. You hurt my feelings. You hurt my feelings. So I'm gonna take revenge on you. How are we gonna have a president who's basically on a vengeance tour? I like tours. I don't go to a lot of shows, music shows, right? But I'm gonna go see the. I think you want to see like Bobby Brown on tour. I'm a little bit older for the audience. Bobby Brown on tour. Some of these 1980s. That's a tour I want to see. I want to be a part of and see the Trump vengeance tour. Going to Chicago. We're also going to Portland. Sending folks to. They talking about sending people to New York, right, and other parts of the country. But you're not sending into the red states where we had these issues. Also sending folks down in Memphis, right? So you got your taxpayers' dollars been abused. You got the doggy roofing that folks, right? And now that's gone. And what did they find? Would they find any waste? What waste did they find, Mustafa?
There was no waste. I mean, that's, when they first came in, they tried to knock off all the IGs, right? These inspector generals. They're the ones that actually take a look at their agencies and departments to make sure that everything is in line. You also got the Congressional Budget Office, who also does these reports to know if there's waste, fraud, and abuse. And there never has been significant in any of the agencies or departments. These agencies and departments came into being because people said there is a need here. But yet they now are getting rid of all these incredible, I call them heroes, federal employees who each and every day get up to try and keep the American people safe and to keep our economy running. And what they don't realize is that when you are literally eliminating millions of jobs, there are ripples throughout the economy. They are weakening our economy because these folks can no longer go out and spend money at the grocery store. They can't spend money and many of these other places. So they're going to end up getting what they get. But unfortunately, we are the ones that end up carrying the cost.
Now, didn't this happen a few years ago? What administration was that? COVID-19. COVID is still COVID in everybody. Who was president then when something similar happened? Oh, Trump was president. Trump 1.0, right? When people couldn't get out there because of the pandemic, they couldn't work. Folks lost jobs. We saw the negative economic impacts, right? But I thought he said on day one he was going to reduce egg prices. I thought he said on day one he was going to reduce prices. Haven't egg prices, gas prices gone up, right? Food prices gone up. Uh, the cost of living for folks, the ability for people to thrive and to survive and thrive has gone up. So what has this? I mean, I'm appalled at what's happening, right? And then we talk about those issues, losing SNAP benefits, and then also to cutting in that big bullcrap bill, Medicare too. Is it Medicare or Medicaid or both?
Both. Both have impacts that are going on. We know that we've got, Reverend Barber often talks about we got 80 million plus people in our country who are uninsured and underinsured.
Yes, sir.
So why would these folks continue to weaken our healthcare system, continue to slash the coverage that is so incredibly needed for folks? And when you do that, you are putting people's lives in danger, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting. It's not interesting. We know why he's doing it, right? He's trying to make his other billionaire friends rich. So those, the tax cuts and some of the shifts onto the the working poor, the working class, all that's about the grift. He is the what was it commander in chief. That's not what he is. He's the grifter in chief.
Mm.
Trump 2.0 is just a grift. He's trying to line his pockets. He got countries giving him gifts and setting up deals. They didn't say Qatar. Did they talk about putting a Air Force base in was in Montana for cut? Why would we? I mean, if it's not obvious to the audience out there, to the listeners, to you, Trump is a grifter. Don't stop drinking that Kool-Aid because that Kool-Aid is killing us right now. Go ahead, Mustafa.
But what about this also? Because so recently they've been saying that because there's a law in place, I believe it was actually from the first time he was in office about protecting federal pay. So now you got individuals who may be working but not getting paid. And after the shutdown is over, now they're trying to say, well, we might pay you or we might not. So what you think about that?
I mean, that is undemocratic. He's an undemocratic commander in chief. That to me is not fair. That is an abuse of power. And it's also you're lying to the American people when you do that. You're lying to the federal. Our country, you have this, this body of this number of states, right? We come together in this democracy, but we have this, in many ways, it's a configuration of states that we rely on the federal infrastructure. We rely on federal agencies, and they rely on that promise. That's breaking your promise to our working people, our blue collar workers, our white collar workers. When you do something like that, so this president can't be trusted. That big beautiful bill was a big bullcrap bill, right? And what's happening right now with this shutdown, they are playing with people's lives right now. They are playing with people's lives. They're not politicians or politicking, and they're not leading with action. And what can we do about this shutdown right now, Mustafa?
Well, folks got to get engaged. So we got to do a couple of things. You know me, I'm big on community. And for me, a
Yes, sir.
community means that we come together and make sure that we are supporting those folks who have been laid off. And we're supporting the folks who actually are getting up and going to work but are not getting paid. So whether it is us making sure that we are donating to the food pantries that are out there, some folks have these other funds that are set up to help people to be able to pay their rent, to be able to pay their car note, to be able to pay these various bills that are part of the basic amenities that
Yes, sir.
individuals have to have. So in this moment, we can make sure that each and every one of us are doing what we can to support those individuals. But the other part, which is incredibly important, is to use the tools that you got out there,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Social media, everybody pretty much is on there. Make sure you're picking up your phone and sharing the stories, because storytelling is incredibly important in this moment about the changes and the challenges that are going on in people's lives. So we got to do that. The other part of it is, and you got to get engaged in the civic process, because if you want to ensure that this type of foolishness doesn't happen in the future, then you got to vote. Now you got to decide who you want to vote for, but you got to get engaged.
Yeah, to make a democracy work, it takes work, right? And so part of making democracy work is voting, right? You gotta vote, but again, when you vote, you gotta hold the people you vote accountable. You just can't vote for them and think they're gonna do the job just to vote. You gotta be knock on their door day one. This is what you say you're gonna do. Are you doing it right? So this in November, we saw something happen in the country when it came to voting. What do you think about that? What happened in November?
You talking about the folks who were sitting on the couch?
No, I'm talking about the folks who sitting in 2025 in November, what you saw in Virginia,
Oh, well,
what you saw in New York City, what you saw across the country. Talk about that.
that was testimony. That was testimony to pain.
Preach.
That was testimony to hope. That was testimony to opportunity. It said that we are going to retake our democracy. I
Yes,
was
sir.
waiting to see what was going to happen in that
Yes,
moment,
sir.
right? Because I was like, will people say, this is my democracy? You will not do this in my country. You will not do this in the 21st century. We're not interested in going back to the 1940s, the 1950s, or the 1960s. We want a country that is focused on the needs that exist for all of the people. And that's what we saw. We saw people rise up. When we say power to the people, that's exactly what we saw play out, where folks said, we are going to change this dynamic. We also going to check you. We're going to
Exactly.
make sure that you understand what time it is.
Yeah, so you saw in November the first female governor elected in Virginia. You saw governor elected, Democratic governor elected in New Jersey. You saw a socialist elected,
Democratic. So
Democratic socialist, correct me there, elected the mayor of New York City, right? You saw, actually down ballots, a lot of progressives focused on the issues, focused on pushing back against on the shutdown, focused on pushing back on the cutbacks, focused on pushing back against this authoritarian. I can't even say that word right. Anarchistic. I can't say that word right. Y'all get what I'm saying? These big words. I'm not gonna say big. I'm say the little words. An administration that's basically killing us. Y'all know what I'm saying now. I can say that better. That's killing us. An administration that's running amok again because we got a big 5-year-old baby. He ain't 5 years old. I'll get my point. Who's mad that his diaper ain't been changed, and he has this little rattle, and he's rattling everybody. You made me angry. You didn't feed me. You didn't change my diaper in time. When? A big baby in chief who shouldn't be president. But we got to deal with that. So you see that vote in November is one step forward in dealing with that big baby in chief.
but you also saw, and I agree with everything, and that you just kind of laid out there. You saw a 21-year-old win elections in Georgia.
There you go.
You saw a 24-year-old win an election. You saw a 34-year-old when you were talking about the new mayor
Yep.
of New York, who actually happens to be a brown
Yep.
Muslim man.
Yep.
So you saw that no matter where you are across America, people were saying something needs to change. And that doesn't just need to change, but I'm going to be a part of that change because I'm going to cast my vote for the direction that I think this country should be going in.
So you see this pendulum, hopefully it's swinging towards being more progressive. The pendulum, just to quote, sort of quote Dr. King, the moral arc, right? How we bend our arc towards justice, right? And creating that beloved community. The community that was being created in this country with ICE attacking folks and with the shutdowns and the cutbacks was not the beloved community. It was a community of hate, a community of fear, right? A community that was really about keeping us separate. But what you see with this vote that happened in November was really about building that beloved community.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying it. Maya Angelou once said that hate has never fixed one problem in this world. And we saw that hate was rejected, with this most recent election that just happened. So we've got to take the power and the momentum from that moment and understand that once an election is over, that's when the work begins.
Exactly.
You got to hold people accountable, you got to stay engaged, and you got to push. And then you got to build to the next one. So in this moment, we have the ability to help people, as we often talk about, moving from surviving to thriving. That takes a lot of work.
And we got to build this momentum, leverage this momentum, and continue on to the 2026 to make sure that wave that we saw in November, that this wave becomes in a positive way, a tsunami of change, a tsunami of hope, a tsunami of love, right? And a tsunami that's really about making America what it needs to be, not just the broken promises of America or the American dream just for some people, or we got to get America back on track. And we got to reverse the shutdown, right? We got to reverse the cutback. So one of the things that we can do when it comes to this future work in 2026 is repeal the big bull crap bill.
Yeah, it's about healing, right? This is about healing in this moment. You laid out some of it there. It is about making sure that we also help those federal workers who've been let go and who've been furloughed to heal. It is about making sure that the folks across our country who have been unseen and unheard now get a chance to heal. It is about making sure that democracy becomes something that is uplifting and not something that is hurtful. It is about the healing that has to happen in that space. But
Yes, sir.
it's up to each and every one of us.
So, I mean, you think about all the families that have been destroyed because of the use of our military and the dehumanization of our communities, particularly a lot of our brown brothers and sisters, right? The use of ICE, weaponization of ICE against people, and so ICE needs to be reined in. Homeland Security needs to be reined in. I want to see people. I need to see some more impeachment, right? When it comes to the president, when it comes to Homeland Security, they broken laws, man. We are a country of laws. You got to comply with the law. So these folks who've been breaking the law, who've been flying around on private jets. So think about this. You can't pay for people's food to give them subsidies to make sure they can put food on the table to take care of their babies, their grandparents, their seniors. But you got money to spend on private jets. So you go see a ballerina competition. Your girlfriend, you just got 2 private jets for Homeland Security. Where's that money coming from? That's the American people's money. My taxpayers' money should not be used for you to go see your girlfriend. My taxpayers' money should not be used for you to go on a private jet. My taxpayer money should be used to help make sure people are healthy, that they're well, that the kids who are the future of America are taken care of. Man, don't get me upset here. Pass the mic.
Man,
to
go
Mustafa.
ahead and preach. Go ahead and preach. What Tupac say? We got money for war, but we can't feed the poor.
Exactly. So we gotta get this country back on track. And I think again, taxpayers, people who are putting that work in, people who've been who sweated, bled, died for this country. We gotta get America back on track. And I think what we saw in November is the start. It's the beginning of that new movement. It's beginning of that 21st century revolution.
A new dawn.
That's right. Yeah.
So, Sacoby, it's really interesting. We see all these millions of folks who are being impacted. And at the same time, the East Wing of the White House is being torn down and rebuilt for this grandiose ballroom. I often bring into this conversation not only that, that they are utilizing space and time. You talked about laws and going around those to be able to build these types of things, but it was Black hands that actually built that White House, both freed and enslaved.
Yep.
So there is also a cultural aspect, there is a spiritual aspect that's going on in there. And there's also the erasure of those women, because that side of the White House, that East Wing, was where the first ladies were, where Michelle Obama was, where Hillary Clinton was, where Eleanor Roosevelt was. All these folks who are focused on social justice, on helping to improve our country, and he's erasing that so that he can build a ballroom.
That's what this administration is, not just the venture story. He wants to erase anything that's been good because he didn't do it. If he didn't do it, it wasn't good enough. So we got to push back against that and make sure that that ballroom doesn't get built, and make sure that the man in the White House, he's a lame duck. We saw that in November, and that duck is to crack his butt on out of the White House.
Well, my thing is that we should be focused on the people who are doing the work, those federal employees who day in and day out who have been doing the work, and making sure that we are uplifting them.
Now we're going to do our rapid fire questions. Brother Mustafa, what's the best ROI program no one talks about?
Environmental justice.
Well, tell the audience about that, sir.
Because we understand these small sets of investments help to reinforce culture, help to make positive change happen on the ground, help to ensure people's public health. We got projects that we've invested $20,000 in and leveraged over $300 million in changes. So I'm always going to say environmental justice because it touches it all.
Yes, sir.
Sacoby, what data prove? What in the world?
Go ahead.
Okay. Sacoby, what data proves impact best?
When you think about these shutdowns and what's happened with the federal government, with dogging, all this stuff that's happened, people have lost their jobs, right? People lost benefits. So more than likely, you're going to see more hospitalizations, more emergency department visits. You're going to see more cases of adverse health events. So tracking hospital data is one way, really tracking morbidity data. You'll see the negative impacts. And also you'll see more people who are on economic and social safety nets. So tracking that data. And then because of the shutdowns and the cutbacks, right, where do they go, right? So you'll see more use of mutual aid, direct aid support. And also you see more people, particularly thinking about the access to food, because the SNAP benefits been cut, more people using going to food pantries too. So Mustafa, if you had $1 million to invest in local government, where would you put it first?
We'll put it in emergency funds, because we see these dynamics right now that are playing out where the feds have cut resources to the states. And of course, the states then move money to local governments. We need to make sure that that social safety net is there. So if we can make sure that folks have those resources, that when folks at the top start acting funny, they can still make sure they meet the needs of their local residents, then I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
What role can philanthropy really play?
Philanthropy can really help with providing those supplemental funds. So we do have these cutbacks, right? Emergency fund support. So if the local government doesn't have it, philanthropy has it. If you need mutual aid, direct aid organizations need more funding to get the food to people, financially can provide that funding. They also provide technical assistance and infrastructure support because some organizations may not have the fiscal capacity to manage those dollars. So I think philanthropy should be stepping up and stepping in already, but definitely in this moment. Mustafa, how do we keep hope alive during cutbacks?
Mm. We focus on joy. In our community, we often talk about Black joy, right?
Yes, sir.
About all the amazingness that happens inside of our communities, the projects that continue to move forward, the successes that are in that space. We do it through our storytelling. We do it through our music. We do it through our poetry. So in this moment, we've got to stay focused on that as well, because we know the impacts are still going to be there, but we got to help people to understand what the North Star looks like.
Yes, sir. And Mustafa, what agency should never be cut?
Hmm. I don't think any of the agencies should. Some of them might need to be reformed,
Yeah.
but all of them are critical because they are a part of the tapestry of protection, of upliftment for our country. So we should hold them accountable and make sure that resources are being used right. But I think we need each and every one of them because folks have been pushing for them.
Yeah. And this particularly the Department of Education. You can't, if you don't have an educated population, you can't have a strong civilization, a strong society. So I'm gonna stop there. If today's conversation got you thinking, go hold your elected officials accountable. Knock on their doors to make sure that they're fighting for you and they're holding people accountable in Washington to make sure the shutdown is stopped, that these cutbacks are stopped, and then funding gets back into our communities. See you on the next episode of the Shack and Move Show.